Hi there, business owner, and welcome to the 3Bs podcast, the place where we go beyond the numbers and dive into strategies to help you build a better business one step at a time. I'm your host, Stephanie, a multi-award-winning entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in the bookkeeping and accountancy world. If you're a business owner looking to streamline, grow, and get back the time that you deserve, you're in the right place. We're tackling real-world problems, answering tough questions, and digging deep into business building secrets in just 15 minutes each week. So are you ready to build a better business with confidence and clarity? Then let's go. To another episode of the 3Bs podcast, your go-to place for 15 minutes of CPD certified motivation, education, and inspiration each week. As always, I'm your host, Stephanie, and today I am here to give you the straight up truth behind the numbers in your business. Today I want to talk about 5 numbers every business owner should know. Not the fluffy ones, not the ones you pretend to understand in front of your accountant, the real ones. The ones that give you control, direction, and peace of mind. Because if you're building a business and you don't know these 5, you're just guessing. A business is hard enough without winging the money side of it. So let's get into it. First up, turnover. That's your total income, all the money your business brings in before any expenses are taken out. Now that also includes things like your Stripe sales. So quite often people only count the payout to the bank account in their turnover. That's not correct. It needs to be the whole sale itself, even if Stripe take their cut before you get paid out. Your turnover is that bigger number, that gross number, which is the complete sale value. Turnover is the number that most people talk about. I've hit 6 figures, is you'll often hear, or 6-figure business owner. Well, that's great. But turnover isn't profit, and it's definitely not cash. Still, I think it's really important to track this monthly and annually. If you're VAT registered, quarterly is a great time to do it too. Why? Because you can't measure growth without it. And it gives you your baseline for everything else. And what you can also do is go back historically. So with many of these numbers, having the historic data and then start tracking forward is something that we can do. Even if you've not been tracking it from this point backwards, we can work backwards and get them and then start tracking forwards too. Because once you've got that, you can know your average monthly income, know your highest and lowest months and see if there's any trends in there, and make sure your goals are based on those real trends and not guesswork. If you're a seasonal business, if you run a Santa's Grotto business, then you know that October to December is when you're going to make all your money that realistically needs to last for all your overheads throughout the rest of the year. And having the data of your turnover in all of the months, being able to plan and track it based on your highs and lows, will help you build a better business. Number 2, gross profit. This is your income minus direct costs. Now, what I mean by direct costs is it's the costs it takes to deliver your product or service. So, for example, if you sell something for £100 and it costs you £40 to make or deliver, your gross profit is £60. This figure also tells you whether your pricing is actually working. If your gross profit is too low, no amount of volume, no matter how many sales you make, nothing's going to fix that. You're going to always feel like you're chasing your tail with it. So having your gross profit enables you to calculate your gross profit margin, that percentage figure of what you actually make per sale. Knowing if you're priced for profit and not just sales is another really important key performance indicator or KPI, because you need to know that you're actually selling things for the correct value. And pricing is one of the biggest problems business owners have when they come to see us at ABCS UK. And don't ignore delivery or fulfillment costs. That's really important. Your postage costs, we all know how much they go up regularly if you're a product-based business, your shipping costs. Also, the costs for, if you sell on Amazon, for example, Amazon take their fee, that's their fulfillment costs. Specifically, if you use FBA, fulfilled by Amazon, you get your products, you send them to the warehouse, they do the package and shipping out to the customer. Those fulfillment costs add up fast. And if you're not incorporating them in your pricing or not incorporating them when working out your gross profit, you're really hurting your business. Number 3, this is the big one, net profit. This is what's left after all of your costs, your fixed costs, your overhead, your variable costs, every cost in your business. Your net profit is your true bottom line over that period. It's also what you pay tax on if you're a limited company, so your corporation tax is calculated based on your net profit. So understanding this number isn't just about how much did I make this year, it's about how much you owe and what you can actually afford to pay yourself. And as a business owner, it is so important to pay yourself. And I say this over and over again because even I've been there. I've run the business and not taken a wage because I'm so invested in trying to make money and build the business. Paying yourself is really important, but calculating what you can pay yourself without overpaying or underpaying, net profit is the figure to help you to do that. So listen, a healthy business doesn't always mean a huge net profit either. This is a thing that people need to understand. A healthy business isn't always a huge net profit, but if your net profit is consistently low or a negative, then it's a big red flag that something's not working in your business, and we need to look at it if we want to build a bigger business. Using net profit will help you to know your monthly net profit. Again, this is a figure you need to look at monthly. I know there's peaks and troughs in business. Having that data enables you to make informed decisions, and that's so important. Watch out for sneaky subscriptions and overheads. If you're tracking this net profit and tracking these costs on a monthly or quarterly basis, you're going to see what you're actually paying for. If your utilities and your gas and electric suddenly go skyrocket on your overheads, you're going to see that if you're tracking your net profit. If you are paying for a subscription that you're not using that net profit figure, checking your numbers every month, every quarter, make sure you're not overpaying for a subscription you're not even using anymore. Also, you can use it to plan for tax, savings, and reinvestment. And all those decisions are really paramount on having these 5 figures down and knowing where they are. If you're planning to save for tax and not knowing what your net profit is going to be, or even having a rough idea of what it's been that month, how on earth do you know you've got enough put away? Are you missing out on opportunities for reinvestment in new stuff or new machinery because you've not actually figured out that your tax isn't going to be what you think it's going to be? Net profit is definitely a big one. Number 4 is probably the one that most business owners seem to ignore, and that's your break-even point. This is not just for product businesses, this is service businesses too. It's how much you need to earn just to cover your costs. No profit, no take home, just a break even so the business isn't spending more than it's getting in. Knowing this gives you a line in the sand. You know when you're safe and when you're sinking, something needs to be fixed fast. Let's say that your monthly business expenses are £3,000. That's your break even. Anything after that is profit. Knowing your break-even point is incredibly important for making decisions on business, especially if you want to make a change. Checking it regularly is also important, as we said with number 3, costs change so frequently, whether it's heating, power, unit costs, software, they change regularly, so your break-even point also changes. And use it to set realistic monthly sales targets. If you know what you have to make to keep your business, so your costs that are absolutely paramount to your business, that's probably your accountant, rent or mortgage if you have a premises, software costs, so whether it's Google or Microsoft, we all use something now that costs, your domain costs, things that you could not run your business without. Even if you don't sell a single thing, the things that are still a cost to your business. They are the things that are going to attribute to your break-even point. And once you know your break-even point, you can use it to set realistic monthly sales targets based on what profit you want to make, what you want to take home as a wage, what your staff costs are going to be, or you would like to increase them. Having it, I think I'm going to say this so many times, it's like a broken record. But having these numbers and having data to make decisions in your business is how you grow. I love the phrase, what gets measured gets improved. And it's so important that if you are tracking these figures, at least you're going in the right direction rather than 100 degrees in the wrong direction by just making a guess. And finally, number 5, tax reserve. This isn't on your profit and loss statement, but it should be in your bank. Nothing ruins a good year in business like a surprise tax bill. And so many business owners fail to track, fail to keep an eye on what their tax is going to be. And having that tax reserve is so important. If you're a sole trader, you should expect to save 20 to 30% of your profit to cover your tax bill, and that's your income tax and your national insurance contributions. If you're a limited company, the base rate is 19% corporation tax. That does taper up depending on the level of your profit, but you also need to put away your personal tax on dividends or salary. into that tax pot. This isn't about precision either. This is about protection. You don't need to have exact numbers. You just need to start putting things away and building that tax reserve for you and for your business. So my top tips here are just to set up a separate tax pot. If you bank with Monzo or Starling, they have tax pots you can set up, so you don't actually need to set up a separate bank account. And you can also set up automatic transfers. So every single time money comes into your bank, you can transfer 20%, 30%, whatever percentage you set into that tax pot. And quite often those tax pots also have interest on them and gain interest, which even in a low interest rate as it stands right now, some of them are 3.75%, which is better than nothing. Saving as you go, don't wait until year end. I think it's so important to get into the habit of saving regularly, whether that's monthly, weekly, or every single time money comes into your business. Saving as you go and not wait until year end will pay you absolute dividends when it comes to your tax bills. And finally, review it quarterly so you're not caught short. Don't leave it till the year end. I use this analogy a lot, both in the practice with clients and on the podcast. I think I've said it a few times before. If I went to the doctor and said, yesterday I had the worst headache, there's nothing he can do about it. If I went to him and said 6 months ago my leg was hurting, he can't fix my leg. It's the same with your accounts. If you're not reviewing them within the tax year, quarterly as a minimum, you're not going to be able to make those informed decisions, so that when you give your set of financial data to your accountant to do your accounts, you're given a tax bill and there's absolutely nothing we can do about it because the period's already gone, the year has already ended. There's nothing we can do to proactively plan and help us move forward in the business and plan for that. So let's get some real talk out of the way. Here's the honest bit. Most people look at turnover and maybe a tax bill. These 5 numbers, turnover, gross profit, net profit, break-even point, and your tax reserve, they're your basic dashboard. And if you know those 5, even roughly, they don't have to be exact, but you can make better decisions. You can feel more confident in the decisions you're making in your business. You stop operating from panic and start leading with purpose, helping you to build a better business. And if you're listening to this podcast or you're watching me on YouTube, that should be why you're here, right? To build a better business. So having these 5 numbers is absolute paramount. If you're listening or watching this right now and thinking, I don't know any of these numbers off the top of my head, that's okay. I don't expect you to know them off the top of your head, but you should have them down. Here's what I would do if I was you and you had no idea where to start. Book out 30 minutes or an hour in your diary to look at your numbers. If you have a bookkeeper or accountant, ask them for a summary report. They'll be able to give you these numbers. And then start to track these 5 numbers monthly, even if it's just on a spreadsheet or in the notes app of your phone. If you want a template, message me with 5 numbers and ask for it, and we'll send you a copy of the one that we use with our clients. It's a really basic dashboard just to get you started in tracking these things and having the data to start making decisions. And if you're completely lost, even after that, reach out to someone who can help explain it in plain English, like us at ABCS UK. Knowledge isn't power, which sounds an absolute contradiction, but knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is. I can tell you all of this information, but unless you actually take steps to implement it and actually start applying the things that you've learned, the needle is not going to move on your business. So that's it for this week's episode of the 3Bs podcast. 5 numbers, 0 fluff, total control on your business. If this episode gave you a light bulb moment, please do share this episode with another business owner. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or click that notification bell if you're on YouTube to let you know when the next episodes go live. They're every Thursday, 6 a.m. on podcast platforms, 8 a.m. on YouTube. And if you want to book a call and get your numbers explained to you without the jargon, there's a link in the show notes to book a discovery call with us. Thank you for listening to the 3Bs podcast. It means the world that you are still here supporting me. Over 120 episodes in. I will see you next week for another dose of real talk, real finance, and real business. See you next week. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another episode of the 3Bs podcast. I hope you found it useful and that you're walking away with some motivation, inspiration, or education to help you build a better business. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and of course connect with us on social media for more insights, tips, and behind the scenes content. Your next step in building a better business is just a click away. I can't wait to connect with you, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye.